It'd be better probably to do this in the shade, but we're gonna do this here. So my number one piece of advice when people ask about getting into what we have in our backyard is you just have to start somewhere. My brother gave me that advice, and I thought it was horrible at first, but it ended up being the best advice that I could give or that could be given to me. You just have to start, quit overthinking it, and do it. Urban gardens are a thing. People are doing urban farming. That kind of stuff is a thing. It didn't used to be a thing that too long ago. And then other people are like, oh, well, I have to have a lot of land to have a homestead. And homestead meaning that you grow and raise as much food as possible and put it away, canning it, that kind of stuff. That's kind of what I mean by homestead, a place where you stay and you eat and you work the ground. Whether that's through animals, whatever, and I'm probably rambling, and that's just what I mean. So a lot of people think that they need a lot of land to grow and raise food. In a suburban area where you have cookie cutter homes, you have cookie cutter backyards, a lot of people think that you can't do that and they just sit there and dream. I want to turn this channel back into a place of inspiration for you all and proof that you can grow and raise food for your family or for yourself, and at least be able to supplement your food bill, because in order to eat organically, eat clean meats and eat clean food, produce like vegetables and fruit, it's expensive. And if you have a large family, it's even more expensive. If you have teenage kids, it's even more expensive than that. So there's things you can do. Maybe I can't grow all of my own food, but I can at least supplement it. And I want to prove that even in a cookie cutter area, in a suburban area that we live in, let me take it back. Our area that we live in is suburban/rural. We're essentially a bedroom community to Memphis, but we do live in a neighborhood with cookie cutter homes and cookie cutter backyards. In taking my advice and just starting, we're just starting. My backyard is not cleaned up. Ideally, I would have had a shower. I would have done my hair so it doesn't look so Bob Ross or Napoleon Dynamite right now. I would have brushed my teeth. I did at least get dressed, so I took my pajamas off and put on actual clothes. But I'm just gonna start, because soon people are gonna start their lawnmowers up. They're constructing a neighborhood near us, so that noise is gonna start. So right now, all you can hear is my AC unit and the cicadas, and the birds. But I'm going to show you my garden. It is not cleaned up. We haven't even rolled up our water hose yet. It's still sitting out. So you're gonna see what it is. I have a series of videos that I will probably dress up a little bit more and clean up my yard a little bit more so you all can see this. But I do have a series of videos. I want to show you everything I have in my backyard. And then I'm going to do videos on each individual thing and how it all works together. Because there is a, what's it called? I don't know. There is a reason that I do everything the way that I do it. It's not just put in my yard. System. There is a system to my madness. Would that be right? Maybe. Okay.
Sounds smart enough.
Right. So right now it's the end of August. We are in zone 7 and I live right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. We have just a little bit over 70 days until our first frost, projected first frost. Our growing season has been a little weird this year. It was slow to start. I have a feeling that our fall is going to be later on. I think we are still in for a few more days of heat. We have a late summer. I think we're gonna have a late fall. But anyways, so I had leafy greens planted in this bed and some herbs at the beginning of the summer, in spring and stuff like that. Once all of that bolted and was done, I pulled it all up and I planted my sweet potatoes. If you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I bought a bag of organic sweet potatoes from the grocery store, and I grew my own slips. Sweet potatoes grow from slips. You can also plant a whole sweet potato in your garden bed if you want to. I've done that too, and it's been very successful. But I do have sweet potatoes growing in here. I won't harvest this until almost October, so they have another month of growing. I know for sure I have sweet potatoes growing because my chickens have gotten in here and have dug up some of my sweet potatoes. But it's okay, I just covered them back up. You can eat the sweet potato leaves if you want to saute them like you would some kale. So they have a little bit of bitterness, but they do hold up. So you can eat the sweet potato leaves if you want to, while you're waiting for your sweet potatoes. I will probably always start sweet potato slips. It's a long process, but this is something that I can do on my own, and I'm not reliant on a store or a seed manufacturer to do it. Yes, you can see our white table. Like I said, we have not cleaned up our yard. Then on my trellis, I have Kooka melons. Hey, Olivia, come get a close up. Can we find any Kooka melons in here? Yeah, they picked most of them yesterday, but you can see them right there. They look like teeny tiny watermelons, and they taste like kind of a sour cucumber, but they are excellent pickled. So if you want to like do a dill pickle with them, so good. You pop them in your mouth, and then you bite down on it, and it bursts with flavor. These guys, from what I understand, can perennialize, meaning they can come back year after year. So once this vine dies back, I'll cut it down, and then next year it should come right back up. This has been great. The bees love this. So if you're wanting something for pollinators, this is really good. I am trying to get into more perennial type foods, and so this is really nice. This has been a really good garden snack. The kids will come just through here and pick them off and eat them. So I didn't preserve as many as I was hoping to, but that's okay. Because what good is a garden if you can't just eat it? And then over here, I have tomatoes. I grew 2 beds of tomatoes this year. Sorry, it's really hot out here, so you're gonna see me wiping my face because my glasses are gonna start slipping down. But so what I did is some of my tomatoes I trellised in here, and this is a gooseberry tomato. They are yellow. Right here, you can see these guys right there. They are very yellow. They are sweet. They are good. If you live in this area, I highly recommend growing this variety of tomato. You can see how I've trellised it. I don't do my tomatoes like you're properly supposed to. We had 4 other tomato plants planted in this bed. You can show down here. I had 4 other tomato plants planted in this bed, and they did just fine. I didn't cage them. I did not trellis them in any way, and they still produced a lot of tomatoes. I've only taken them out because I've let the chickens out, and I'll get to why I let the chickens out here in just a little bit. But they basically smushed everything down, and that's fine. I have more tomato plants than I actually need. They're kind of in a lull right now because it is really, really hot. So, but yeah, gooseberry tomatoes, if you want a really good just snacking tomato or something to chop up and put in a salad, these are amazing. Some of the other ones I grew were a green zebra. Here we go. Here's one. These are really good too. And I want to get a lot of these when they're still green and pickle them because I think they would be really pretty. If you've never had a pickled green tomato, I think you're missing out. It's perfect on a sandwich. And then I have these little tomatoes. I did label everything, so let me find the label, but you can show that one. These are this nice, beautiful color, and that's a green zebra. Where's this one? Is that a tomato? I guess that's what that is. Yeah, so it's a tomato. They are a nice little tomato too, but they have this really pretty sheen. I have a picture of it on my Instagram. I've planted some marigolds in here because they're supposed to be really good at deterring pests. You can see how I've trellised everything up here. I do like this So I'll probably do this again next year. I planted a lot of different varieties of tomatoes simply because I wanted to know what I liked and what we liked as a family to eat and what did well here. This is I'm going to totally butcher the name, but it's a res tomato. It's a German variety. And if you like a pasting tomato, something that you can and put away, these are really good. But what's cool is they also call these a traveler's tomato, even though if you look up traveler's tomato, it's a completely different variety, but they do call these, because what these do is they grow in flower clusters. I'm trying to find one to show you, but like there's a bunch of little flowers in one, and they are almost individual tomatoes, so you can just pop off these little individual ones, but they're really gnarly looking and super cool. So I will plant these again. These did really well. Another variety that I planted, which I think that this is what that is, yeah, is a pineapple tomato. So I don't have any ripe, but they're big. They're like a beefsteak sized tomato, and they have a really good flavor too. Nice and sweet. And then over here, I have an Amish pasting tomato, which honestly I'm not super thrilled about. This is my second year doing it. I'm sure if I tended more to my garden, maybe I could get more, but I'm trying to look for things that I don't have to baby along, and we'll see how this one goes. I do know from last year, because I planted them last year, that they are a later producing tomato, at least in this area, or at least in my backyard. Somebody else may correct me on that one, but I'm still growing those. This is supposed to be an Amish pasting too, because I planted 3 here, and then I planted some German pinks here, some German pinks on this trellis, but I take it back. I planted some German pinks here. I did have a trellis of green beans. I had the purple potted pole beans on that one that I grew, and then I had a homestead bean on this one. I think it got too much shade, and it just didn't produce. Tomatoes really like sun, and they really like the heat, and I think it was too cool. So I'll plant, as you see, German pink, and then a carbon, however you want to say that one, over there. I pulled them both up, fed them to the chickens, and I just kind of gave up on those because I'm just using the ones that I know are prolific. On this trellis here, I have beefsteak tomatoes. Those have been really good as well this year, eating fresh. I've got some in the freezer because there's I wanted to put back a lot of things, so most of my tomatoes are in the freezer so I can can them later on in the season when things aren't crazy. But like I said, I grew green beans on this side. The homestead bean I probably won't do again because they're very hard to see when you're pulling them, because the bean is the same color as the leaf, so it's kind of hard to see them, so it's really easy to let them go too far. The purple potted pole beans, just like last year, I had saved those seeds from last year. They are super prolific, absolutely amazing eating fresh. They're great canned, but again, you know, you have plans, you have these ideas of things that you're going to do. You got to give yourself some grace. I'm trying to give myself extra grace, but we let a lot of those beans go, and before we went out of town, I took all those beans down because they were turning bad. I could have left them. I could have pruned them really good. I could have pulled all the beans off of them, and I could have left them, and they probably would do a second production here later. I might even have enough time to plant more beans before the frost. I have yet to decide if I'm going to do that or not. It's a quick producing bean, the purple potted pole beans. I may just not do it, and then because fall gardening here is so prolific, I just may not worry about putting stuff up like the beans, and then just eating fresh from my garden this year. That's more what I'm leaning towards. All right, so right here, what I have is a gooseberry. No, sorry, that's not a gooseberry. Those are gooseberries. These are ground cherries. Ground cherries are super awesome, and they're great for making tarts. They are also good at just eating in the garden. They are native to here, so they grow in the wild spaces, if you have any wild spaces. But so you have this. So this is what it looks like when it's growing. If you can see that, put that in the shade there. Yep. And then this is what it looks like when it's ready. Take the husk off. And a lot of people make tarts out of these. That might be what we do. We've got tons of them that are almost ready. I have actually never eaten one, so I'm going to eat one. I can't tell you what it tastes like. I mean, it's got like the texture of like a tomato. But it's sweet. But it's sweet. Hopefully we'll have enough and we can make a tart out of it. That'd be really cool. I planted some cucumbers on this, and our yard got overrun by cucumber beetles. Oh no, not cucumber beetles. What are those? Squash bugs. And yeah, so they killed my cucumbers. Also, the early planting of cucumbers that I had that were over on this other trellis, my dogs ate all of those, so that was super fun. Right here we have peppers growing. So I have a giant Ozark pepper growing, and this is just now starting to come in, so they're gonna get big. I have those. I had one here, but something ate it. I don't know what. Probably a wild rabbit, because we did see wild rabbits in the yard this year. And then these little guys here are Shishito Peppers. If you have ever seen these at like the farmer's market, or like an international market or whatever, buy them or grow them yourself, because these taste so good. So good. So these are worth doing. Then I have a Cubanelle. That's what these look like. These are really good. That one's about ready to harvest. It's a nice sweet pepper. And then I have these peppers. These are mini bell peppers. I haven't had a lot of success growing large bell peppers, so I got the mini bell peppers, and they taste super great. Peppers in certain parts of the country, certain parts of the world, are actually trees, and you can perennialize peppers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of each one of these plants, because these are the ones that I really, really like. And actually probably just the Shishito, the mini bell, and the Cubanelle. Probably not going to do anything with the giant Ozark. But I'm going to pot them, and I'm going to stick them in the greenhouse and see and try to extend the season. Right here we grow our corn, and got a few things off of it. It wasn't as good as my corn has been in the past. I'm not 100% certain why. Like I said, we had a different spring and summer than we have had in the past, so I'm going to figure that one out and then do a corn video. I really wanted to do a corn video because I was so confident that I knew exactly what I was doing. But then the corn decided to do something else and throw me for a loop. So we'll see. We'll see. But we did get to eat corn off of our corn, so then it was a success. But this is going to be the first bed that I'm going to add some compost to and start planting some carrots and beets and start planting our fall winter stuff here.